shrunken down and to make changes with the county. I think one of the things I want to talk before I talk about some of the things we could do and some of the things that the council should look forward to in this budget is Bob and I had met already. Stefan, I think, was in the meeting with the county. The traffic study we have done shows us the data of how many cars are actually coming into town and going right through town and going out of town from 287 from all different areas. And what we've talked about briefly, and we're going to try to expand with the two council members helping, is starting to look regionally at how our traffic is moving. So the amount of buildings that are being built from Florence Park all the way up is adding a lot of our traffic to the western parts of the county, whether they're going out towards our neighborhood, which is on Wetmore by Farragut, or they're going all the way down Morris to Lafayette, up and out through Sussex. It's clearly increased the amount of cars. That's the first thing. It clearly has increased the amount of cars that now are entering and exiting Morristown. Not necessarily a bad thing, but that's the growth. They're not building, suburbia is building out from us, and that's where the cars are going to, and they're going to work in other areas east of us. Second thing is, as much as I wish I had, I don't have control over dictating to the police chief when and where and how much enforcement gets done. He knows about me as for nauseum, how many times I call him about traffic. And Captain's sitting right here. I complain every day about traffic and about speeding and about Morris Avenue. And I will echo the thoughts of what Bob just said. We have gotten calls from residents that gotten tickets on Morris Avenue. And I know it's frustrating because people live in the neighborhood and they don't want to get tickets. And the police try to do the right thing. They try to be sensible. But, you know, there was something that was said publicly, and it got back to me, that the mayor's office doesn't want any zero tolerance when it comes to speeding on Morris Avenue. And speeding anywhere, zero tolerance. If you speed, you get a ticket. But the police have to weigh, I'm not talking for the police, but they have to weigh that balance when it's a resident or, you know, a first time, younger person, you know, getting a ticket. Now, I'll end on this subject with Morris Avenue. There are certain things we can do. Easy fixes, like two of the gentlemen came up and said the number of the easy fixes. We will again push the police department into enforcement, but random, not every Tuesday at the same time. Do it in the afternoon on Wednesday, do it on a Friday morning, do it on the weekends probably aren't as bad because you don't have as much vehicular traffic as during the week. It's not, I think, a big lift, but because it's quasi-military, I do not have the power to dictate how the chief runs his police department. However, there's a caveat to this, why I'm saying that coming up. I'll briefly touch on Washington Avenue. The road is finally finished. It is getting paved this summer. I think we should re-look at some of the traffic calming measures that were not implemented that we wanted to do that would benefit Washington Avenue. A majority of the residents wanted these things, but a number of residents didn't. So it kind of got, I'll use this word, dummied down. And I think if we are able to implement some of the things that we want to do on Washington Avenue, will help with the traffic. But when you have 50 people in a room, and 35 people want it, and 20 don't want it, or 15 don't want it, it doesn't, I do the math, it seems to go, and that's what happens. So I think we need, and Bob, Mr. Ironfront is a good member of the First Ward, I think we should relook at some of the issues before that road gets paved this summer, about doing some more things on Washington Avenue to help with the traffic. That's just my opinion. There were some good ideas that were not implemented because some members of that street didn't want it. So I think we need to look at that. But
the yellow line is going away.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I think that you don't want someone thinking that's a speedway because it's the yellow line. Now, Morris Avenue is a tough, it's not tough. It can be done. I know the captain's sitting here and he's going to have to report back. But we will again sit down and talk about, and we don't mind paying a little overtime to do random, you know, and so they don't know when there's a cop going to be there. I don't know why they don't do the police car, Councilman Elms. It's something we've talked about over the years. I don't know, Chief will have to answer that, why they don't put a, you're the acting chief, maybe I won't put you on the spot. All right, let's talk about, well, enforcement, yes. Different things we can do, simple fixes, yes. Farragut I didn't know about, and I didn't forget the engineering question either, so I'll get to you. Farragut I didn't know about. I do catch people going up one way the wrong way on D-Hart, but sometimes I think they don't realize it's one way. People don't pay attention. I swear, if it wasn't for John Hanson grabbing me by a jacket one day, I was stepping off on South Street, I would have got clipped. He just grabbed me. The person never lifted their head as they went through the intersection until they saw what happened and they went, oh my God. People just don't pay attention. They're texting, they're so in a rush. The world we live in today is different. So we as pedestrians, and my wife and I walk all over town, we live 2 blocks from town, you have to be more conscious of the driver because they just don't pay attention. I tell people in the crosswalks all the time, I see people stuck in the middle of the street because one side stopped and they're trying to get across. The other cars are just keep going. And I see it down by the train station all the time. We talked about implementing lights in the crosswalks from the ground up that flash when there's a pedestrian walking. And there are cities in this country that do things like that. There's innovative ways we can really implement state-of-the-art technology into how we deal with traffic. And calming, so the driver sees that they're in an area where there's people and there's homes. So you're not forgotten. We hear you. We have heard you. I've been hearing it since I was a councilman. And it's so happy to see so many new residents in Morristown that you're investing in our community, so we will in turn invest back into what you need into your neighborhood to make sure that you're safe and you feel secure and that you feel happy in the investment that you made in Morristown. Now, yes?
Drainage, yes.
So those buildings where you talked about Rite Aid and stuff, I remember the Hamilton there 30 years ago when I used to go back. Those buildings and sidewalks were always wide. Now, is our engineer here? Yes. So the first thing I'm going to tell is our engineer to give us a study, give us a look at what the drainage is from the state road. It's a state road. How do they have it drained? What is the procedure for putting more wells in or making it the drainage better? I know we have a complaint on the corner of James and South constantly. I tell you right now that when I was a councilman, I argued for them to put in a well there, a pit, to catch that water on the corners. Everybody know what I'm talking about? The next day they paved. When you're a local municipality trying to deal with, Anthony has to deal with the state all the time on different issues. Everybody drives Speedwell Avenue. Bump to bump to bump to bump. State road, right? I was with the governor yesterday and made a complaint. I noticed DOT was out there patching holes today. Not us, because we do it. Your tax dollars, and this was my argument, our tax dollars are fixing state roads. It's not right. We're paying the tax for the state to keep the roads right. That's supposed to be paid in 2019, but DOT was out there. I saw them with trucks out there on 202 patching. So we're getting through. It's a new administration. We're getting through, and things are getting done. Now, in this upcoming, finish with you. I don't know. I'm not a climate expert. I watch climate all over the country, disasters. I watch floods everywhere. I watch rain that I've never seen rain come down the way it comes down. I see flood areas that I've never seen flooded in Morristown. The amount of rain that comes down at a very short period of time is immense. That is clearly a factor in the floods and how these streets are. Clearly. The streets are designed, and I know a little bit about engineering, the streets are designed and sewage lines are designed and water basins are designed years ago on how much flow and how much, it's all calculated. Clearly there's been a change in how much snow, rain we get in intense periods of time. So I will have our engineer and our team look at the state. They have all the information. They will look at how it's laid out and then get with the state. We'll get back to you you just email me and I'll have the engineer give you a report on if there's a way we can make it better, and then get the state involved in how they can make it better. But it's a state road, so that's where we gotta start first. We gotta look at what we have and then deal with the state on it. We need to make fixes to make it better. So it's not going on deaf ears. I appreciate you bringing it up. Now, you're gonna have a budget address tonight, so I hope you stick around. I did have a speech that'll last about 15 minutes. There's money. Can I finish?
Are you finished with the trap going into something else? Because I wanted to comment on what you said about the traffic.
Let the mayor finish, and then if you have something additional.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on something he said about the.
Okay, so in the budget, there's more money than in the police budget, and police and fire, for us to start to look at maybe this town, because of things like this, because of the increased traffic from all over the county, from all over the building, all over the county. Has anybody driven Hanover Road lately? You can't move on Hanover Road. It's completely choked out, and they're building another big complex over there. So a lot of that traffic is coming through us, because they don't want to go up Hanover Avenue. They need more exits on 287. They need so many fixes. So maybe it's time that we look at a global look at our safety, our public safety, not our crime, but our public safety, our schools, our traffic, our speeding, all the issues that are outside the norm. I mean, it's public safety, but maybe we have somebody that is very knowledgeable and understands programming on how to start to integrate technology and how to do things on a more global look as far as safety. And I think speeding and that is public safety. I think it falls under public safety. I think it's important. So we're looking at, is it time now we maybe look at a public safety director in our OEM, operations and emergency management, our police and our fire. And it's something that we as administration have talked about and looked about over the last couple of years, and maybe it's time, especially with the added, what's going on countywide. Maybe we need to have that fixed. So we'll talk about it as we go through the budget process. So I think that's something that's going to be very beneficial to the community as a whole. I can go on and on and on. I think that we should, the administration, with the help of the two council members who are right now active in the regional traffic, to talk to the planning department, the road department, again, to see what the county buy-in into what they can do on their road to make it better for the people who have invested in purchasing homes and living in that area. I think that's an area we also have to talk to, which is the county, and to get, it's their road. So we can say we want to do this, this, and this, but we still have to get permission from the county to implement different stuff, not pedestrian signs, not the easy stuff that we can do, but for any kind of road patterns or things like that, we have to get the county buy-in. So we'll do that too. So just give us a little bit of time, not a lot of time, just a month, and we'll get we'll start getting some ducks in a row, and then we'll report back. Bob can we can do it through a group email, we can do it through Councilman Iannacone getting in touch with the neighborhood, but it didn't fall on deaf ears, and it hasn't fallen on deaf ears. Our business administrator, not so much me, I on the phone with her, she calls the chief, we want enforcement, they go after it. What we want is a program that systematically goes throughout the town on a regular basis. And if that means that we're putting 2 more police officers in the budget this year, we've done it every year, if next year we need to put more in, then the council will have to support, the taxpayers will have to support that more of an increase in their taxes. But I think with the right programming and a little bit of extra money, even if it's overtime, we have it. With the right program, I think we can be successful in targeting all the areas that are hot with traffic. I just think you have to program it. You just have to use the latest technology that we have in our hands to do it. So it's time to bring it to the 21st century and to deal with all the extra traffic. I don't know if you guys understand where I'm going with this, but they do, which is good. So I hope you guys understand where I'm going with this, that it's not falling on deaf ears. Definitely the Farragut, I live right around the corner from you. That's unacceptable. But sometimes I think people just don't realize they go down. They're not paying attention. People just are not, and we're a big dog walking community now. I don't know if you've noticed, maybe Allison started the trend, but we are a huge dog and pet community. I see people walking dogs everywhere. Joe? I see people walking dogs everywhere. So listen, and he's right, Joe's right. It's been ongoing for 20 years, maybe longer, maybe longer. Enforcement is the easiest thing in the world to do. But I can't dictate to the Morristown Police Department when they enforce, where they enforce, and how much they enforce. But I can work with somebody who oversees the public safety realm of the community and program it, and they can deal with the police department to program it when it can be done. And it's a big ask. Big ask from the council, it's going to be a big ask from the public, and that's where it's going to be.
I'm sorry,
Well,
That's it,
can't
Joe.
speak for the public,
You can
sorry.
call me offline or come see me. Get it out.
Just a follow-up, Mayor, if I may. Thank you, Michael, for bringing up the wrong-way drivers. I just heard two streets, DeHart Street and Tiffany Road, where they talked about wrong-way drivers, I think. So on Green Street, it's one way, and we had DPW, this was before you were mayor, so in between your council and mayor. The sign was crooked, so you couldn't really see from James Street that it was a one-way road. So Anthony and Jeff Harkey at the time took a look at it, and sure enough, the angle needed to be adjusted. So I'm almost wondering if on Tiffany Road, I think you said Tiffany Road was a one-way? Is that? Well, I heard Farragut, but no, not the other. Well, you talked about a wrong-way driver. On Morris Avenue. So on DeHart, for sure, there is one sign that says, do not enter. Maybe there needs to be two. Maybe that sign needs to be realigned. You know, signs get crooked. The trees fall on them and they need to get adjusted. As far as wrong-way drivers on Morris Avenue, that sounds like a much bigger issue, but I think we have to address it. And just to your point, Mayor, about, coming back to us in May 24th, I just would like to see what the remediation plan was. So when you come back to us in May 24th, after you said...
What remediation?
When you said you would come back in a month, give us a month to look at it, I'd like to know what those plans are.
Yeah, sure,
specifically numbered, what the specific measures and plans are, and what the goals are in terms of what they would address. That's all.
Since I have the acting chief here, Jillian, could you ask the acting chief if we could do some enforcement on Morris Avenue tomorrow?
got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that all from the public?
I think it's it for me. I mean, I think you all understand where we're heading, and like I said, you're not falling on deaf ears. And I appreciate everyone coming out. I appreciate the councilman from the 1st Ward, the 4th Ward, and Michael, and everybody who's made comments. Speeding is an issue everywhere. I can tell you, I ran for council based on that issue. My wife's here in the audience. I couldn't get a slow down children sign on our street. This is factual. So I couldn't get a slow down children sign. And so I ran for council. It took me 2 years to get a slow down children sign. I lost, but I ran again and I won. And I've been here ever since.
And now you're third time mayor.
So it's not falling on deaf ears. I understand the issue and the not anger, but the frustration. And it's a county road, and it's not an easy fix, but we'll work on it. We will not forget you on Morris Avenue or anywhere else in town. That's it.
All right, thank you all for your comments and your responses and your concerns to the residents. And so now
Morristown.